is able to reply, and that's a good yardstick for Ross Gunn. Johnny Cocker at the wheel of a Ferrari 458, so we wouldn't expect the 458 to be able to offer the same sort of pace as the twin turbocharged 488. There's Aaron Scott looking on.
Yeah.
And from the number 55 garage, that car in provisional pole, thanks to Matt Griffin's hard work so far.
Yeah, Aaron will join the team at the Le Mans 24 Hours as well. Matt Griffin won't, because he's otherwise engaged with his full season WEC entry with Clearwater Racing. So I think it's Marco Ciocci will be joining that team.
So the Aston Martin from Beechdene AMR, and much of the crew based in Banbury, just off the M40, looking after that Aston. The 50 car of Fernando Reis working its way through the Parabolica, and the whole world shakes when the Aston and the Corvette come by you on the pit wall together. Aston then completes its lap, and Fernando Reis goes second fastest, a 148.427, 4 tenths rather, exactly 4 tenths of a second. The difference between Griffin, who now sees the checkered flag and does not improve, and Fernando Reis, who's managed to sneak one more out of this.
Could he? Could this be a banner day for Labour competition and lovers of very large V8s everywhere? It is a completely distinctive engine tone, of course, the Corvette C7R, as indeed is the Ferrari 458. Ross Gunn, by the way, drops behind Johnny Cocker, who does make an improvement in the number 66 Ferrari 458. It is the fastest first sector of the session, goes to Fernando Reis. Could he grab this? He's got Ross Gunn ahead of him on the road. Now, is that going to be help or hindrance? Well, we're going to see in the next minute or so. Matt Griffin cannot improve, neither can Matteo Caroli, he stays third. Nicky Team stays fourth. Bertolini went quicker last time around, but can make no impact, and he's now pitted. Johnny Cocker is improving, and maybe might make up another position, but I think it's all here about what can Fernando Reis power out of the second sector in this Corvette C7R.
Just the one headlight working for Fernando at the moment. I hope that doesn't matter. We are running obviously in daylight conditions and will be for the race tomorrow as well. But Fernando Reis, having gone quicker than anybody else through Sector 1, now does not set a personal best time through Sector 2. So he's going to struggle from this point, heading down the back straight through the Parabolica and over the line to improve on a great time that he's already set, 148.427, exactly 4 tenths slower than Matt Griffin's time.
Here he comes to complete the lap and almost the session.
Ross Gunn pitting, by the way, and over the line. It is improvement for Reis, 0.266 of a second slower than Matt Griffin, but he did find time through sectors 2 and 3, doing a 148.293, but that will confirm pole position for Aaron Scott's team, for Matt Griffin's team, for Duncan Cameron's team. Spirit of Race in car 55, with Alexander Talkanitsa looking on as well from the neighbouring pit. Talkanitsa this year taking part in LMP3 with AT Racing.
Top 4 cars within within 8 tenths of a second, around 8 tenths of a second of those top 4, and it's a varied mixed grid there too. Ferrari 488 from the Chevrolet Corvette C7R, the Porsche 911 RSR, the 2015 spec car, that of course, and the first of the Aston Martins. Those 2 cars, by the way, have been reeled in a little on the balance of performance for this race weekend. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. There is the classification after that quick fire 10 minutes of qualifying, Johnny.
Just over a quarter of a second separate the 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari and the Libre Competition Chevrolet Corvette of Fernando Reis. Fascinating to watch that, and just falling short of those two is Matteo Cairoli's time in the Proton Competition Porsche. Matteo's time of 148.514. Nicky Team was 4th fastest in the number 90 TF Sport Aston Martin V8 Vantage. 5th quickest was the 51 Ferrari that was driven by Andrea Bertolini from Spirit of Race. J&W Motorsport just pipping Beechdene AMR in that private battle in the lower order, but there was only 2 tenths of a second in it between Johnny Cocker's time in the Ferrari 458 and Ross Gunn in the Beechdene Aston Martin V8 Vantage.
You could see the pleasure, couldn't you? Even with the helmet on, you could see the pleasure on Matt Griffin's face. It just, again, reinforces his honorary name, and particularly here at Monza, Matteo Griffoni.
And Matt is quickly out of the car. Charlie George has made a beeline for him, and we will hear from Matt very, very shortly. So congratulations to the Griff by 0.266 of a second. The 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari taking pole position for LMGTE, and we can now hear from Matt Griffin.
Yeah, I'm down here with Matt Griffin. Matt, I'm pretty sure you're very happy with that.
Yeah, no, it was really good. We worked really hard with my engineer to give me the car needed for qualifying. We didn't get a chance to run new tyres in free practice, and when we were kind of thereabouts, we were like, we think we're good, but sometimes you don't know until you put the new tyres on. So car was excellent. I was absolutely maximum attack. I had nothing left in the tank. Monza's a great place, and it's when you're absolutely right on the limit, and in a Ferrari around Monza, I think is one of the best feelings in the world. So yeah, really happy.
That's definitely going to be a fan favourite for the race, seeing that Ferrari on GTE pole.
Yeah, for sure. Ferrari at Monza, it's a dream come true.
Well done, Matt.
Thanks.
And the point that Matt makes there is that the car was specifically set up for Matt Griffin, who drives Ferraris very quickly for a living, effectively, but that's not necessarily the spec that Duncan Cameron will get on with. So the car will be adjusted, ready for the race, really tailored to Duncan's driving style, and Matt can adapt to that, can't he? But they will have set it up to be on the knife edge for qualifying deliberately, and now the work starts overnight to get it ready for the race.
Absolutely, and now we get Johnny into the next 10 minutes. This time it will be the LMP3 cars, 15 Ligier JSP3s, 2 of the new Norma M30s. It will again be if you like, it's a spec powertrain in this. It's the 5-litre Nissan V8 engine, develops around 420 brake horsepower. So that is going to be something around 7,140 brake horsepower unleashed. From
he does all this in his head,
cars.
you know.
It's great. This is a great looking grid again. We've just seen 15 of these cars in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the support race for the European Le Mans Series once again this year, but this year featuring LMP3 cars. That, if you like, is the kind of the graduation class. This is the top class in LMP3 in European Le Mans Series, and they are about to be unleashed onto this wonderful circuit in wonderful weather, by far the best weather we've seen during this meeting so far. They'll be relishing that, and there's some pretty quick guys to come in this.
It's the top level of LMP3, you're right, but then there's another step above that, LMP2, and we have seen some teams make the crossover from 16 to 17, and this creates this fantastic ladder system that the ACO have developed over recent years in order to get you to Le Mans and to get you into the LMP2 class ultimately.
Absolutely right, and the other thing we're seeing, by the way, year on year, we've already seen these cars around here in testing. The ELMS Prologue test was held here some weeks ago, and what was interesting there is very many of the teams that were here last year in LMP3 making big improvements with the experience they've now had in the car. There's one of them, the Ultimate team, went extremely well here in the test, and also went very well indeed at Silverstone. Big improvement forward. This another one of the M Racing YMR cars, the Ligier. They also run the black Norma that's sitting behind the number 19 car. Two men missing though this weekend from that team. Ivan Muller not here. Neither, by the way, Jan Urlacher. We expected to see possibly in the Norma. Both actually busy elsewhere with the FI World Touring Car Championship. Ivan Muller looking after the Volvo team, and Jan Urlacher with a drive for, of all things, a Lada.
Unusual, isn't it, for that team to not so much to enter two cars, but to enter two very different cars, a Ligier and a Norma. So that means you can't share the data between the two machines. Well, you might be able to up to a point, but obviously the Norma's going to behave very differently from the Ligier. It also means that the teams and the engineers have to think very differently, and I suppose there is scope to go in one direction or the other in the future, and they may still be in that decision process.
Exactly that, because what we've got are cars here that are designed to be cost capped, 206,000 euros for the whole package. You do get the wheels for that. There's no wheels on that number 11 wagon at the moment with the Euro International cars, but they are homologated for a full 4 years. So you are locked in, if you like, to the specification you've got. There is some adjustment available to the teams here aerodynamically, but not a lot. You can't mess about with body kits or anything like that. You've got what you've got, and it has produced some fantastic racing, some great strategy as well we've seen in the previous years for the European Le Mans Series as the cars begin to make their way to the end of pit lane for the start of the session. I think this one is going to be mighty close, Johnny.
That's the number 16 Panis Barthez Competition Ligier. At the front of the queue, though, is the RLR Motorsport machine, car number 15, which is...
It looked like Alex Capadia's yellow helmet in that car.
He's sharing that with Morton Dons, the Dane, and Canadian driver John Ferrano, who are silver and bronze respectively, peering into the cockpit and the office of one of the two United Autosports LMP3 cars.
I have a feeling that was Sean Rahal. That's Sean Rahal and John Falb combo. The first round at Silverstone did a fantastic job. By Speed Factory, the number 5 car, the matte black and silver car.
30 secondi per aprire la corsia box.
Expecting Tristan Vidas, the Estonian, to be at the wheel of that car, ready to qualify it, number 5.
Decade Engineering, 2 cars in this grid, as well as a single car in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. But they, last year, Johnny, were one of those coming teams that were looking.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open.
Bang on time.
For LMP3 cars has started.
So 1:35 local time.
Track limits. That must be respected.
And that's the voice of Eduardo Freitas again, making sure that everyone is aware that the LMP3 session, 10 minutes of it, is underway. This promises, Graham, to be very busy with 17 cars out on track.
Absolutely, getting a clear lap is going to be critical for these guys. Pretty tight stuff there for the two. Look at that splitter's quite low, isn't it, on the Norma?
That shows how easy it is, though, just to, I mean, not necessarily in the pit lane, but on the track, if you make contact with somebody else. Those dive planes are not going to last very long at all. They are very aerodynamically efficient, these Ligiers and the two Normas, but they depend an awful lot on that front bodywork. And if you lose one or both of the dive planes, those little bits of aerodynamic devices, front left corner, front right corner, that will significantly affect the car. That Ligier, by the way, run by YMR, only running with the one dive plane.
Yeah, we've seen certainly in LMP2 some playing around with high and low downforce. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But some of the drivers out there, was indeed Sean Rahal in the number 2. It's Wayne Boyd in the number 3 United Autosport car. Iraj Alexander in the number 4. It is Ross Kaiser in the number 6 360 racing car. David Drew in the 7. It is Maurizio Mediani in the number 9 car. He's subbing this weekend in the World of Tanks liveried AT racing car. Harry Capitano in the number 10 Norma. Mondini, Giorgio Mondini in the number 11 Euro International car. Martin Hipper in the 13, what we call the Norwich City car, but it's the Inter-Europol car. Alex Capadia of Direct was in the 15 RRM Sport car. Timo Gachet in the 16 Paris Barthez. I think it's Mathieu Lehay in the number 17.
Mathieu, yes.
Ultimate car. And away we go.
Indeed, and this is the viewpoint of Sean Rahal at the wheel of the number 2, and it is so quick down this main straight, then hard onto the brakes as you stay off try and stay off the first curve, definitely stay off the second curve, because there is a monstrous sausage curve there, the orange sleeping policeman effectively ready to jump these cars up in the air, and then this fabulous part of the circuit where you let the downforce of the car glue the machine down to the track. It's very slightly banked, turn number 3, Curva Grande, and then the second chicane comes into view, big grandstand that faces the car. Again, more curbs here that can do your racing if you clobber those on too many occasions. And then towards the Lesmos, the first of those, and then this short straight between 6 and 7. And then the right-hander, important to get a good slingshot out of this corner. Rahal seesawing at the wheel there to make sure he's getting the traction he requires, applying the power. This next kink is barely registered as a corner on the telemetry, but it is a corner nevertheless, and then that sets you up for Variante Atgari, which is the left flick just after the bridge, or they actually sweep underneath the bridge, underneath the banked oval. Sadly no longer used these days, but much of it still in existence here at Monza.
And resurfaced to actually stop the water rots actually getting to that. There's been concreted over in many places, which is good to see that they're preserving. The old banking is still spectacular, but coming to the end of the lap for the first runners, that's Capadia and the RLRM Sport car, Sean Rahal, both going pretty quickly here. Simon Gachet also putting in quick sector times too. We can see these sector times come through. Sean Rahal goes to the top. It's a 1:47.992 for Rahal, 1:48.2 for Alex Kapadia. So a quarter of a second between the two. And only Rahal at the moment quicker than Matt Griffin. As I say it, Ross Kaiser goes to the top of time in scoring, a 1:47.931 for the number 16 360 racing car. And I said 16, so I was trying to read that, and Simon Gachet popped up and took the lead of the session with 1:47.1. Capo in the number 19 Norma goes second. Wayne Boyd now goes to the top. So this is fast and furious stuff. Lots of laps in the 1:47s, and they're still coming. Boyd, Gachet, Capo, Mondini, David Drew, Ross Kaiser, Sean Rahal, all in the 1:47s in the opening laps of this session, Johnny.
So round one going the way of Wayne Boyd, and luckily for us, as Alessandro Cugno now goes through to go quickest. So the 18 car tops the times by 0.2 of a second. The good thing is we've still got half the session to go, another 5 minutes, Graham.
And he's the first man into the 1:46s too, is Cugno, in the number 18 car. So we're getting improvements coming, and big improvements coming on the pace we've seen so far. So the M Racing YMR experiment at the moment pointing the way of the Ligier option. Capo has led this session in the team's Norma, but is now a little way back, and a bit of a wide moment there for, that's one of the Euro International cars. Is that the 12? It is. And that is, as I look down, timing and scoring, who's aboard that car? It is Pilet.
Maxime Pilet. We also had a change there. Well, we have a change for the top of the times. Sean Rahal going through. He was the first car out onto track, and car number 2 taking provisional pole in LMP3. But Wayne Boyd could be about to disrupt Rahal's time there and his positioning. Maurizio Mediani, by the way, slotting into 4th position. That's now 5th because of Rahal's improvement. Maurizio Mediani driving the number 9 AT Racing Ligier.
Here comes Wayne Boyd, and it was a quicker middle sector from Boyd than Rahal managed. It was a quicker first sector that Boyd, but Capo goes to the top in the Norma, the number 19 M Racing Norma goes to the top. Where will Boyd? He betters it still by 5 thousandths of a second. It is Wayne Boyd in the number 3 United Autosports Ligier. Mondini beats that by 70 thousandths of a second. This is tight. The top 3 separated by 75 thousandths of a second. Giorgio Mondini from Wayne Boyd, Ricky Capo, Ligier from Norma, the number 11 Euro International from United Autosports, and M Racing YMR.
And we're going to get at least one more bout of quick times, probably 2 actually, considering that Sean Rahal is now in the 2nd sector and goes quicker than anybody else in sector 2. Mathieu Lehay, a really good time through the final sector to put the number 17 Ultimate car 5th fastest. So it is the 11 of Euro International quickest, Giorgio Mondini from the United Autosports car number 3. Mondini running a little bit wide there, out of one of the slower corners, I think. Mondini we go on board with though now. Oh, and a big wiggle heading into the first of the Lesmos, turn number 6. No, this is Curva Grande rather, which is, no, it's Parabolica.
And it wasn't Giorgio Mondini, the caption was wrong. That was Sean Rahal. He's dropped down to 7th. Since topping the time. So where's he going to end up after this one? Back to the top, 1:46.332, and leads the session by an enormous 11 thousandths of a second. This is ridiculously tight.
So Giorgio Mondini in the number 11 car, just coming out of the Variante Ascari now and down the back straight. So yes, onboard footage being beamed to us from Sean Rahal's car, the number 2 United Autosports Ligier, and that was a personal best through sector 1, an absolute best sector 2, and a personal best sector 3. But Ricky Capo now to the top of the times for the 19 machine. That's the M Racing YMR Norma. So that car now fastest and going quicker than the Ligiers as Wayne Boyd replaces him at the top. So it's a matter of reeling off somebody's name, and by the time you get to the end of the name, it's changed. 0.164 of a second the difference between Boyd and Capo now, Graham.
Barely half a second separates the top 10 in this session. This is amazing stuff. It's Cugno goes second and reduces the 1.164 of a second gap to 0.031. It is thousandths between just about all of them. Lehay goes to the top. Ultimate goes to the top now with a 1:46.022. This is magnificent stuff.
Red and white Ultimate car then now fastest, but we have other cars potentially going quicker. Dario Capitanio's gone quicker than anybody else through sector 1 in the number 10 Norma.
And he's 10th.
And he's 10th, yeah.
This is marvelous
That's
stuff.
the Oregon team entered. There it is, in fact, the number 10 car. And just coming out of Ascari now is Dario Capitanio, the man in the Renasport Trophy last year, and sharing with a couple of his teammates in that car. Dario Capitanio back with Andres Mendez, Davide Roda as well. So the pink, yellow and green machine could be one to watch through the Parabolica. We only have 47 seconds remaining on the clock. Mathieu Lehay is fastest with a 1:46.022. Capitanio and Maurizio Mediani could be on the move, though. Certainly Capitanio going to be quicker. He's gone 8th in the number 10 car and going quicker than anybody else through sector 1. Maurizio Mediani want to look out for. Wayne Boyd,
Watch
though,
him.
as well.
Watch
Here
Wayne
he
Boyd.
is.
Watch Wayne Boyd. Watch Maurizio Mediani. Maurizio Mediani, you're quite right. Purple sector in sector 1. He's 12th. He's 6/10 of a second off. Here comes Boyd, though. He's going to get another lap if he needs it. He goes to the top. 1:45.725. 3/10 up. That's a great lap from Wayne Boyd. That is actually a meaningful gap for the first time in the session. Amazing stuff from Wayne Boyd. Squeezed out the first lap we've seen under 1:46 here this weekend.
And the session starts to stabilise as the clock hits 0. I mean, we have not spotted any pattern in this qualifying session at all. But as you say, 3/10 is a decent margin now for the Ulsterman Wayne Boyd. Car number 3, and he has gone quicker than Mathieu Lehay's time in the ultimate car. And that car pits, so deciding not to go across the line. Clearly didn't think he was on to anything special. Alessandro Cunha goes across the line, does not improve. Waiting for the number 9 car of Maurizio Mediani, though, who goes 10th.
Yep.
And that is an improvement. But I'm sure Maurizio would have wanted to be, well, in the top 6 with that. As you say, Wayne Boyd has squeezed one more out of it and set for more improvement. He's gone quicker again through sector 1.
Well, he's got other cars going as quick as he is. Ricky Capo, who's got dropped down from that provisional pole down to 5th, is going as quick as Wayne Boyd through sector 1. There could well be changes here.
Ray Halter to 3rd fastest there in the number 2 car. So, well, improvement from the American, and United Autosports potentially with 2 cars in the top 3 in LMP3 here.
Ricky Capo is improving in the first 2 sectors. He's not quite as quick as Boyd in the second sector. So there could be changes here. Mediani 10th. We're still waiting for some quick men to come through. These are all separated by thousandths or tenths at worst. Here comes the number 19 car. What can Capo do?
Also waiting for David Drew to come home as well in the number 7 car. Ricky Capo goes 2nd fastest to split the Boyd car and Mathieu Lehay. That's a 1:45.773 and misses out on pole by 49 thousandths of a second.
Wow.
How close do you want it? Wayne Boyd versus Ricky Capo in the best placed Norma. Everybody else is now home. David Drew completes his lap but does not improve. But we saw improvements on that final circuit for Capo, for Sean Rahal and for Maurizio Mediani.
Now that, ladies and gentlemen, was LMP3 qualifying coming of age. That was a magnificent 10 minutes of qualifying right down the field. And to give you an idea of just how close these cars are, the top 13 separated by under a single second. The gaps all registered within that by at most single tenths and quite often by thousandths. That was magnificent stuff.
It certainly was. And just tracking down the 17 cars, we've actually got one of the P3s that was slower than Matt Griffin's time. I wonder whether that car had disappeared too. So Maxime Pilar struggling in that session in the number 12 Euro International car. When you consider the other Euro International car was actually 7th fastest, so maybe some concerns for the 12.
That was the 12 car was the one we saw off the circuit briefly, so may well have actually just picked up a problem with the tyres.
Yes.
But the 16 in line astern, well, in fact, let's talk about the top 15. There's a 1.2 seconds between the top 15 in that. But 48 thousandths is all that separated this man, Wayne Boyd. Did, by the way, another 1:45 on his final lap. Didn't improve, but 1:45 on his final lap. 2 of the cars under 1:46. More or less, well, everybody else bar 3 under 1:47. Great stuff.
There is confirmation of the times then. Wayne Boyd the man from County Antrim in Northern Ireland. 1:45.725 for the Anglo-American squad, and manages to get pole by 48 thousandths of a second from Ricky Capo, the Aussie, driving one of two Normas. So we'll have a Ligier Norma front row. Ricky Capo for Team M Racing YMR, doing a 1:45.773. Mathieu Lehay was third fastest for Ultimate. Sean Rahal was fourth fastest to make it two United Autosports cars in the top four. Alessandro Cugno in the other YMR car was fifth fastest. David Drew for the 7 crew, Duquesne Engineering, sixth fastest, ahead of Giorgio Mondini for Euro International. The Oregon team, driven by Dario Capitania, that's the other Norma from Italy, set their home race, eighth fastest. Ninth quickest was Panes Bartes Competition, and that car driven by Maurizio Mediani. No, beg your pardon, it was driven by the 16 car by Simon Gachet, I should say, and then it was Mediani, 10th fastest for AT Racing. Phenomenal stuff. I'm going to need a bit of a lie down, I think, after that, because we have another 10-minute session to come, and Wayne Boyd is absolutely ecstatic with that performance, as you might imagine, to go quicker than the other 16 cars in this class and to out-qualify Ricky Capo by such a slim margin. You're talking less than 0.05 of a second. So phenomenal stuff for Wayne Boyd and the United Autosports crew. It means that the car that he shares with Christian England and Mark Patterson will start as the best placed LMP3 car for tomorrow's 4 hours of Monza. The number 13 car with some entertaining lines there towards the Varianti Ascari corner. So car 13, which is the Inter-Europol competition entered car of Martin Hipper and Jakub Smikowski. And I presume it was Smikowski at the wheel of that. That's the number 13 machine.
It's Hipper.
Was it Hipper? Okay. So Martin Hipper, the German driver, doing the time in that. But we need to hear from Wayne Boyd, who has quickly got out of the car and joined Charlie George.
Well, Wayne, that was one fast and furious qualifying session. We loved it. How was it for you?
I was happy enough, yeah. When you get pole, it's always a good feeling. You know, on the radio type thing, you don't find out to the in lap. And they actually kept me waiting for a while before they told me. I thought it was a bit cruel, but no, huge thanks to United Autosports and all the guys. You know, we've been working hard this weekend, and we definitely deserve this one.
Absolutely. Now, it's going to be a very close race out there, isn't it?
I hope not. I hope we check out. But no, on the times, everybody seems very, very close, you know, and even through bronze to bronze, drivers, silver to silver, it looks very close as well. So we'll see what happens.
Thanks. Well done.
Thank you.
The other thing we need to bear in mind for LMP3 is that come the race tomorrow, they will be doing probably 3 stops, and 2 of those stops have to be done to a mandatory minimum pit stop time, don't they?
There's a reference time for each of the circuits here. Should point out, by the way, and somewhat unusually in international motorsport, obviously we saw Matt Griffin take pole position in GTE, Matt from Blarney, and wouldn't he be, in the Republic of Ireland, and Wayne Boyd there from County Antrim in Northern Ireland. So 2 men from the Emerald Isle taking the 2 pole positions so far. We've still got 10 minutes of action to go here, Johnny, but that was marvellous stuff for LMP3. We've not seen qualifying like that in the European Le Mans Series in this sort of depth with that sort of closeness, and boy oh boy doesn't this Monza circuit suit those little cars.
Yes, it does, and that's a very good point in that, you know, the European Le Mans Series, under that banner, under that title, never visited Monza before, but it immediately seems like a bit of a hit for the P3s, and it promises much ahead of this LMP2 fight for pole position. There'll be 12 cars about to be unleashed onto the Monza asphalt then. The Dragon Speed Oreca, the G-Drive Oreca, we have Panis Bartas Competition with a Ligier JS P217. Algarve Pro here with their Ligier E-Deck Sport Racing Team Nederland for their first action into the ELMS. They obviously were at Silverstone, but the Dallara chassis brought here to Italy as well for round 2. United Autosports also with an interest in this category. A win at Silverstone for Will Owen, for Hugo de Sadelier and for Philippe Albuquerque. Well, they're back for round 2. Tocqueville Motorsports from the UK with the Ligier. 2 Graf Orecas. The Setela Villorba Corsa car at its home race. That's another Dallara. again, of course, Dallara, very much an Italian manufacturer. And high-class racing from Denmark, Dennis Andersen and Anders Fjordbak make up the 12-car field.
We'll see 11 of these 12 at the Le Mans 24 Hours. High-class racing in a learning year for them, but they seem to be learning very quickly indeed in the LMS at the opening round. The teams are basically getting themselves sorted, ready for not just an attack on the European Le Mans Series, but Le Mans as well, and this is a great place to prepare for them. We'll see another Dallara after Le Mans with S&P Racing joining the championship, but with the Graf Racing team here, this is the 40 car. This is one of the teams that will be there, and confirmed to me by the team this morning that the 3 drivers we've got here for the team will be the 3 that will campaign the 40 car for the Le Mans 24 Hours. James Winslow will join the 39 car, and as an addition for that team, so that's great news there. The now Aussie domicile Brit. That is the 39 car.
Late change of a rear left Dunlop on the G-Drive car, I noticed there, with one of the mechanics rushing out with Dunlop underarms. Thankfully that's been attached though, and we'll need a wheel gun now to make sure that the wheel nut is tightened sufficiently. Don't want any wheels going loose as we had in the Michelin Le Mans Cup qualifying earlier on today. So car 22 for G-Drive Racing with Meme Rojas, Rio Hirakawa and Leo Rissell as part of their driving combination. We will confirm who is at the wheel of all of these cars just as soon as they exit the pit lane and trigger the timing loop at the end of pit lane.
Well, Silverstone doled out some real entertainment, didn't it, as the teams got to grips with these brand new LMP2 cars, 600 horsepower Gibson V8s in the back of all of them. The opportunity to select 4 different chassis, 3 of them represented on this grid, and away they go. An Orica leads a Dallara, leads another Dallara, and another Orica there, but we've got Ligier cars here too.
Yeah, the first of those Dallaras, the blue car, is the high-class racing entry from Denmark. Also caught a glimpse of the Racing Team Nederland Dallara P217, all Gibson powered. All the 4.2 litre V8 power plant, and that is the new configuration of LMP2 adopted for 2017 and onward. Dragon Speed about to wave their car into the session, and I'm guessing this will either be Nicolas Lapierre or Ben Hanley, probably Nicolas, to qualify the car. Already had a minute though of this session, and Dragon Speed not happy to wave the car out just yet, or is that a slight issue for the car?
Well, Dragon Speed, one of the teams certainly that's been experimenting with different downforce settings on this body kit. There's one standard body kit for the LMP2 cars for the year. There's an additional kit they can use, a replacement kit they can use for Le Mans only, but they've been trying higher and lower downforce. In the 23 car, we had a brief look at there. That was the Panis Barthez Ligier. They are reverting to a 2-driver squad here.
Yes.
And that's because the replacement for Nat Berton, who is engaged elsewhere this weekend, Mathieu Vazavière, rather hurt himself in training.
New paint scheme for Panis Barthez Competition, by the way. Gone is that sort of teal and black livery, and it's the red and black, very similar to Edex Sport, in fact, which is the car number 28.
I think we can guess who's at the wheel of that car, because this is the debut in the LMS with this team for Olivier Pla.
Yep.
And one of the hands-down fastest men in an LMP2 car on the planet.
And there is a tyre battle in this category, unlike the others, because we have Michelin represented by Panis Barthez Competition, this car, and the car we just caught a glimpse of, Edex Sport Racing, with Olivier Pla at the wheel. Every other car, though, in this category on Dunlop rubber. So 10 on Dunlops, 2 on Michelins, and the number 23 car, the first then to enter the session, down at Variante Ascari now, with 7.5 minutes on the clock. So driving this car is Timothée Bouret, although Dennis Andersen is going quicker than the Bouret time through the first sector. Dennis Andersen at the wheel of the high-class racing Dallara. We have Andrea Bellicchi driving the number 47 Setala Vilorba Corsa Dallara. The 2 Graf cars driven by Richard Bradley and by Enzo Guibert, respectively. Nigel Moore's driving the Tocqueville Motorsports number 34 Ligier. And then we have Philippe Albuquerque at the wheel of the number 32 United Autosports Ligier. Racing Team Nederland is Jan Lammers. Olivier Pla driving 28, as Graham suggested. Andrea Pizzitola driving for Algarve Pro Racing in their Ligier. And then we have Ryo Hirakawa at the wheel of number 22, G-Drive Racing, late rear left tyre for that car, but nevertheless it's out in the session. And it is Nicolas Lapierre for Dragon Speed, which is also now headed out of the pits.
I'm just counting down that list of drivers that you've just explained there, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 drivers in that list who either are or have been factory LMP drivers.
Factory LMP1 drivers. Yeah, indeed. So it is quite a roll call. Dennis Anderson to the top of the times in the early stages, 1:39.103. Jan Lammers second fastest, and Ryo Hirakawa third quickest. These are sort of installation laps, really. And the really strong times will start to come from people like Richard Bradley, who is now 1.7 seconds clear of Anderson's time. So the opening gambit, if you like, from Richard Bradley in car number 40 for Graf, the French crew. And it's a Brit, a Frenchman and an Aussie as the driving lineup this weekend for Graf Racing.
Remember, you've got to look after your tyres here. There's a limited supply of tyres available to these crews, so they'll be looking after the rubber. It's not going to be... Look, these cars are way quicker than the old style LMP2s we saw up until last year in the European Le Mans Series and the FI World Endurance Championship. But the drivers and the teams are learning fast, is that you've got to look after your pace here. There's enough power and torque in these things to literally just rip the rubber off them. You can't do that over 4 hours of racing. Nicolas Lapierre first into the 36s though, 1:36.641. So Lapierre from Bradley, from Albuquerque, from Beliki, from Nigel Moore and Pizzitola at the moment.
It's all about being smooth, all about being considered, and qualifying is one thing, racing entirely a different thing. When you're thinking about a 4-hour race, this will give us a bit of an indication about pace, but when you compare single lap pace to a stint that is going to contain quite a number of laps, these cars will be doing probably about 45 minutes worth of the race with each stint.
Hirakawa goes second in the 22 Dragon Speed car. That's the G-Drive backed car. Lapierre from Gibert now as the first of the Graf cars pops up. And still, well, in fact, Gibert goes as second man under 1:37. So it's Lapierre, Gibert, Albuquerque.
And Hirakawa was third fastest for about 3 seconds there as the Portuguese came round. Philippe Albuquerque to go third in the top Ligier. So it's 2 Oricas from Ligier, from another Orica, and then the best place Dallara is 5th fastest.
It's Ben Hanley looking on fairly anxiously. His teammate, who's Toyota bound, of course, the Le Mans 24 Hours. And
moment for Dennis Anderson down at the second chicane.
Yeah, braked himself there a little, but clearly Dennis is being given the opportunity for more and more track time here, and has forced out the quicker of the 2 drivers in this car. But pretty smart move for them to give Dennis Anderson as much opportunity as possible to get his head around car and circuit. They, I thought, won the standout highlights of the Silverstone race, Johnny, high-class racing.
Yes, they did well in the Renault Sport Trophy as a duo, carrying the same paint job into the ELMS. Enzo Guibert, quicker than anybody else through the second sector, and also we're on board with Andrea Beliki in the 5th placed car, Setelevi Loba Corsa Dallara. So this is the best placed of the Italian cars, 5th fastest, and Beliki working so hard, heading right, left, right through the Variante Ascari, and then down this long straight underneath a couple of bridges, heading down towards the Parabolica. And there's a lot of porpoising going on there for Philippe Albuquerque in the United Autosports car. I'm sure he's happy with that, but that's the sort of vibration that can chatter your teeth out of your head as the car goes over the line. So improvement for Guibert. He goes to provisional pole in car number 39, a 1:36.527 for the Frenchman.
Just a 10th clear of Nicolas Lapierre. Just 2.5 minutes left. These 10 minutes do click around quickly, don't they? Albuquerque does make an improvement. He's 4th quickest now. 39 Orica from Graf Racing. Enzo Gibert tops the list, 1:36.5 from Nicolas Lapierre in the number 21 Dragon Speed Orica, 1:36.6, 10th of a second there. Ryo Hirakawa in the second Dragon Speed car, the G-Drive back car, the 22, is a further 10th back, and a further 10th back, Felipe Albuquerque in the number 32, the Silverstone winning United Autosports car. So the top 4 cars separated by 3.5 tenths of a second.
And it's Graf, Dragon Speed, G-Drive, United Autosports, Sette La Ville Corsa, and then another Graf car. Your top 6 with 1 minute and 50 seconds to go. And Enzo Guibert trying to improve again on this lap. He's not improved through sector 1 nor 2, in fact. So look a bit further down. Ryo Hirakawa has just done a 33 flat through the middle sector. That's a very respectable time and has about 0.2 of a second to try and find on Enzo Guibert in that very French livery of Graf with their Oreca 07.
Nigel Moore, meanwhile, has bailed out this session in the top with Ligier, the 34 car. Olivier Pla yet to really feature in this session. He's running 10th at the moment. He's making a couple of improvements here, but he's nowhere near the required pace in that 28 car at the moment. And so Guibert goes through and does not improve. There's 1 minute and 6 seconds to go on the clock here now. So who is going to make the move? Andrea Pizzitola may be someone to keep an eye on, as Philippe Albuquerque and Richard Bradley both bail out this session as well with under 1 minute to go now. Is anybody going to pop up here, or are we in tyre conservation mode? This is Andrea Pizzitola in the 25. He's improved his first sector time. Doesn't make any improvements on the car's best time in sector 2, but the body language of that car suggests he's trying his level best here to see what it can do about launching the number 25 car up from its current 7th position on this provisional grid. Unlucky, this team were leading the race in Silverstone when trouble struck. Pizzitola does improve. He goes up to 5th quickest to 1:37.250. So he goes ahead of Andrea Bellicchi and Richard Bradley with that lap. So a good lap there from the most Italian-sounding Frenchman in the world.
Indeed so, as Dennis Anderson tries to make room for the G-Drive car. Now, is this compromising? I would suggest very much so. The driver of number 26 into the Parabolica. 22, that's why I'm getting confused. I couldn't find it on the screen. Ryo Hirakawa, and Hirakawa had to bail out in the end of that lap that maybe was going to be a bit quicker. That's the 28 car, is it? Or 23?
That's
still
23.
23. I'm still telling Panis Barthez Competition and IDEC Sport to pass.
Easiest way to do it is the shade band has got the Total branding. We're a Total partner at Panis Barthez.
So Enzo Guibert ending the session as he crosses the line and receives the checkered flag. It looks like in provisional pole, unless Nicolas Lapierre can do anything special on this final lap. So look out for the number 21 Dragon Speed car, the principally white but with the stars detailing American team owned by Henrik Hedman, who is one of the drivers as well, the now Florida-based Swede. Nicolas Lapierre doing the qualifying, Ben Hanley pensively watching from the garage, and it looks like, if anything, Lapierre has backed off a little bit during this lap. 33.5 through the middle sector, so he's dropped half a second through that and about 0.2 of a second through the first sector as well. So Dragon Speed's lap still being timed. I wouldn't be hugely surprised though to see this car go straight into the pits. That more or less confirms then a pole position for Graf and the Oreca 07 Gibson. Indeed, the Dragon Speed Oreca comes down pit road. So Eric Trouillet, Paul Petit and Enzo Guibert, an all-French lineup, and Guibert, the silver driver, has out-qualified Nicolas Lapierre. And
Enzo Guibert, again, another one of the guys at the Silverstone opening round of this championship just a month ago, again, mightily impressed. And if that team can keep the car on the island, watch for what Graf Racing can do with both of these cars. They were very good throughout a goodly proportion of the 4 hours of Silverstone. And confirming, if not entirely stable driver lineups, more or less stable driver lineups. The 39 car there, this is the pole position setting car.
But it's an all Oreca top 3, isn't it?
It is.
With the 2 best placed Ligiers 4th and 5th. The best placed Dallara is 6th, as we confirm the times for you. 1:36.526 then is the pole position time set by Enzo Guibert here at Monza, and that gives him pole position by 0.115 of a second from Nicolas Lapierre for Dragon Speed. Third fastest, the G-Drive car, number 22, driven by Ryo Hirakawa, the Japanese. 0.225 of a second, the margin between Hirakawa's time and Guibert. Philippe Albuquerque maybe a bit disappointed with a second row start in car number 32 for United Autosports. Fifth fastest was Andrea Pizzitola, working hard in the Algarve Pro Ligier he shares with Andrea Roda and Matt McMurray. And sixth fastest, as I say, the best placed Dallara of Beliki, of Giorgio Sergiotto and of Roberto Lacorte in the all-Italian lineup for Settela Villorba Corsa. There is the Tocqueville Motorsports machine of Nigel Moore and Phil Hansen, just the two drivers allocated to Tocqueville and their Ligier for this year. Run out of, surprise, surprise, Tocqueville in Yorkshire in the UK. So they were eighth fastest, behind the second Graf car of Richard Bradley, Franck Mantelli and James Allen. Ninth fastest were High Class Racing, and Dennis Anderson doing some good work there during qualifying. Anders Fjordbach is the silver graded driver, but Dennis Anderson given the opportunity to qualify the car. And the two Michelin shod machines only good enough for 10th and 11th, Idex Sport and Panes Barthes Competition. Does that give us an indication of how those cars will go in the race?
Well, we were talking a little earlier, Johnny, about LMP3 being a bit of a graduation class for the European Le Mans Series. And Enzo Gibert and Graf Racing, an excellent example of that. They're stepping up in the championship from two LMP3 cars to a pair of LMP2s. And Enzo Gibert, finishing third in the LMP3 championship last year in the LMS with that team, steps up to P2. Great qualifying sessions.
Certainly was, and well done to Graf Racing, to United Autosports and to Spirit of Race for their three respective qualifying times. Charlie George raring to go very shortly to have a word with the man that has taken pole position, Enzo Guibert. I think we may be hearing that later on during our coverage, perhaps sometime later on today or maybe even tomorrow. But as you say, it has been action-packed. I cannot believe we've had 3 doses of 10-minute sessions there, but phenomenal to watch, and it bodes well for the race tomorrow, which will be held at local time from 1:30 through till 5:30. I'm delighted to say we will be able to hear, though, from Enzo Guibert, who has worked incredibly hard for Graf Racing to get that time, and he's now with Charlie George.
Yeah, I'm down here at Graf Racing with Enzo. Now, Enzo's going to do his best in English for us. Well done. That was such a fantastic lap for you.
Yes, fantastic lap. It's my first qualification, and I'm very happy for this.
And tell us, how do you feel about Monza?
Very good. The speed is incredible, and I like this.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, clearly Enzo Guibert from the French squad only has a petit little bit of English, but nice to hear from him nevertheless. Great qualifying. Look forward to the race tomorrow. Bye from me and from Graham.